Hi, welcome to Flashback. This is the first episode where I introduce some of the best contemporary historical films. Rudolf Hess, a Nazi officer responsible for the Auschwitz camps during World War II, lives with his wife and 5 children in a spacious home. In their home, they go about their lives, and gunfire or cries from Auschwitz are barely heard, not bothering the family. However, the image is tainted by crematorium smoke, making it grimy. We do not see the killings, and we do not witness them. In fact, you could say that this film is a hidden display of violence from beginning to end, or, as Hannah Arendt put it, a display of the evil desire that has tragically affected our modern world. The film is made by British director Jonathan Glazer and stars Christian Friedel and Sandra Hüller. It runs for 1 hour and 45 minutes. The film's genre can be considered as an art movie, and it is aimed at teenagers over 14-15 years old. I think it's a special film, even without the format of a great movie. Movie lovers will definitely enjoy watching it, but I really can't recommend it to general audiences. We see a young girl living in Leningrad, nursing in a shared flat. In a moment of confusion, she suffocates the boy, perhaps to relieve him from suffering during this tragic time. She tells her friend he died from an illness. Despite this, their friendship continues, but Masha wants another child, believing it will give her life new meaning. Unable to have one, she asks her friend to help. Of course, Aya won't accept this proposal, and Masha threatens the doctor, saying she will expose his help in euthanizing a terminally ill patient to the government unless he forcibly makes her pregnant. The director of the film is Kantemir Balagov, and the cast includes Viktoria Miroshnichenko, Vasilisa Berezhnaya, and Andrei Bykov. The film has a runtime of 2 hours and 10 minutes, and it is not a family-friendly film, so you cannot watch it in a family setting. It is a really good film worth watching at least once, and I think general audiences will enjoy it as well, especially cinema lovers.
You looked at me, and I knew how simple life was then.
The life of Franz, a simple Austrian farmer who lives a very contented life in the beautiful rural pastures with his wife and children, is disrupted by the rise of Nazism in his neighboring country, and later, the annexation of his country. Franz is not politically savvy, but simply because he is a free man, he refuses to swear allegiance to the ideals of Nazism, and refuses to fight for the Germans and the Nazis. Alone, but with the support of his wife, who understands him well, he stands against the ruling government and the small, brainwashed rural community, refusing to go to the front lines and kill innocent people. This film depicts the real life of Franz Jägerstätter and the true events and incidents of his life. Directed by Terrence Malick, the film stars August Diehl, Valerie Pachner, and Karl Markovitz. It runs for 2 hours and 5 minutes. It's a biopic that you can watch with family. In my opinion, it's excellent. One of the best by Terrence Malick. However, due to its unique and non-linear visual style, I don't think it's a film that would appeal to the general audience or even to film buffs. Only those familiar with Terrence Malick's cinematic language and those with an interest in World War II-era stories will appreciate it.
Co płakały we dnie w nocy, ojojoj, czarne oczka, co płaczecie.
In the communist era after the war, Victor meets Zula, a captivating woman. The two develop feelings for each other and begin a relationship during a trip in East Berlin. Victor flees to West Berlin, and although Zula agrees to go with him, at the last minute, she refuses, and Victor is forced to travel alone to the free world. This is the beginning of a turbulent story that will have these two hearts broken, as they meet again in Paris, then again in Poland, only to be separated once more. Their love, hatred, and longing for each other will continue, from performances in Paris and magnificent parties to even forced labor camps in Poland. Paweł Pawlikowski is the director of the film, and Joanna Kulig and Tomasz Kot star in it. The runtime is 1 hour and 28 minutes, and it can be classified as an art movie. It's better not to watch this film in a family setting. It's a decent film, a good film, and it's quite special. In my opinion, aside from its audience, it has a distinct quality. Rather than being simply good or bad, its black and white style and unique rhythm set it apart.
Georg Dreimann. Das ist so ziemlich unser einziger Autor, der nichts Verdächtiges schreibt.
Ich will ihn überwachen lassen.
In East Germany, where there is practically a file for every citizen in the Stasi, an agent is assigned to spy on a famous playwright. Follow the publication of an article in the German newspaper Der Spiegel, stating that a large number of artists are committing suicide in East Germany, and that the dire situation of freedom of expression is becoming more severe. This persecution and its orders are actually issued directly by the Minister of Culture. The lives of Georg, his partner, and their secret police agent, Gerd Wiesler, enter a new phase. The lives of this artistic couple will undergo significant changes due to the immense pressure exerted on them by the government. Additionally, the thoughts and beliefs of their secret police agent will be influenced by closely observing the relationship of this intellectual couple in love. The director is Florian Henkel von Donnersmarck and Sebastian Koch, Ulrich Mühe, and Martina Gedeck star. The runtime is 2 hours and 18 minutes, and it's not family-friendly. A good film, arguably excellent, popular and loved by cinema fans.
Helyes. Helyes, ez jó válasz volt.
Bíró Jánosné, Simó Katalin vagyok. Születtem 1915. december 11-én. Kislányom Judit született 1938. február.
The story follows Kata, a secret member of the Hungarian resistance during the final years of Nazi occupation in Hungarian. Upon returning home, she discovers that her organization's identity has been compromised and that her home is being searched. However, her husband and young daughter have escaped to a safe location in the city. Unable to return home, Katalin receives new documents and an identity from the resistance as the wife of János, another member. She takes refuge at János's house, and we witness the heavy burden of living under Nazi rule, where people follow both written and unwritten rules to survive. Amidst this, we also see the forbidden and chaotic relationship that develops between Katalin and János. Directed by István Szabó, with performances from Peter Andere and Ildikó Balszagi, the film has a runtime of 1 hour and 45 minutes. It is classified as a romantic film, suitable for families with teenagers aged 14 and above. This film is a masterpiece, one of the best lesser-known works from Eastern European cinema, and I highly recommend it to cinephiles and those interested in Eastern European stories.
Oskar! Oh, Oskar! Oskar!
This film tells the story of Oscar, a small boy who, at the age of 3, decides to stop growing in protest against the adult world, and as a way to express his disgust for the vile events around him. He begins his narrative with his grandmother's story in Poland, continuing through the aftermath of World War II. Though seemingly disabled, Oscar narrates the events around him with an imaginative perspective, reflecting German society during and after the war. Directed by Volker Schlöndorff, starring David Bennett, Mario Adorf, and Angela Winkler, it is a dark comedy and fantasy film, best enjoyed by adult audiences.
Čím dřív se člověk navrátí v prach, tím se dřív osvobodí, promění, osvítí, převtělí, spasí se svět.
The Cremator set during the Nazi occupation in Czechoslovakia, the film follows Karl, a cremator in Prague who holds personal beliefs about cremation and freeing spirits, blending elements of Buddhism and reincarnation. However, Karl becomes influenced by Nazi ideologies, feeling a strong connection to their beliefs. Directed by Jörg Hertz, With performances by Rudolf Roshinsky and Vesta Kramontova, the film runs for 1 hour and 40 minutes. It's a remarkable work of cinematic expressionism, with captivating lens work, camera angles, acting, and rhythm. This film is suitable for mature audiences and those interested in Eastern European cinema.
Plutokratov a kaďaku háveť pochytáme. A s nikým sa nebudeme mazliť, povedal pán veliteľ. Do vtáčka kuchára sme už lapli. Teraz ho zavrieme do klietky, potom ho dáme na praje.
During the Nazi regime in Czechoslovakia, Aryanization begins, and a Jewish-owned shop is taken over by a powerful collaborator. The elderly woman who owns the shop is unaware that her business is being transferred. However, a kind-hearted person steps in to help her, protecting her from the social upheavals surrounding her. Directed by Jan Kadar, the film stars Ida Kaminska and Joseph Kroner, with a runtime of about 2 hours. This Czech-Slovak masterpiece is a must-see for discerning film enthusiasts.
Could you see your way clear to sell us a loaf of bread, ma'am?
This ain't a grocery store. We got bread to make sandwiches with.
I know, ma'am. Only it's for an old lady. No teeth. Got to soften it with water so she can chew it. And she's hungry.
Why don't you buy a sandwich? We got nice sandwiches.
The Grapes of Wrath set during the Great Depression, this film follows Tom, who is released from prison on parole, only to find his family's farm in ruins. A local investor has taken control of the land, evicting the locals. Forced to leave, Tom's family heads to California in search of work as fruit pickers. Along the way, they face harsh conditions, with many other displaced farming families. Directed by John Ford, starring Henry Fonda and Jane Darwell, this film is a powerful adaptation of John Steinbeck's novel and is essential viewing for fans of American history and cinema. Finally, I'll quickly introduce 8 films in the Jumping Popcorn section. The first is One Life, 2023, directed by James Hawes, a biographical film starring Anthony Hopkins. It's similar to Schindler's List, but not particularly engaging. You can skip this one. Next is Resistance, 2020, directed by Jonathan Jakubowicz. Also not worth watching. Goodbye Lenin, 2003, directed by Wolfgang Becker, is a well-known film worth checking out if you haven't seen it yet. The Pianist, 2002, directed by Roman Polanski, is a famous and well-regarded film starring Adrian Brody. Schindler's List, 1993, directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Liam Neeson, is a must-see if you haven't watched it already. Also notable are Colonel Redl, 1985, and Mephisto, 1981, both directed by Istvan Sabo. These films are exceptional pieces of Eastern European cinema. Lastly, 1900, 1976, directed by Bernardo Bertolucci, features Robert De Niro and Gérard Depardieu. It's a long but satisfying historical epic, worth watching if you're into historical dramas. Well, dear friends, this concludes the first part of the list of some best contemporary historical films. There are 2 more parts to come. If you have any other historical films from the modern era, particularly the 20th century, that you'd recommend, feel free to share. Stay happy, healthy, and well. Until next time.
We're killing innocent people. Raiding other countries, preying on the weak.
Bewegung, Bewegung, zustechen! Bewegung!
Now the priests call them heroes, even saints. The soldiers, the doers. If our leaders are not good, if they're evil,